For week 2, we watched a series of 8 videos this time. First one was Ken Robinson on new paradigms of education, and he gave us a lot to think about, a lot of issues that are current in the education system, some things that have not changed since public education has become the norm. And I did think that that was very interesting, especially the fact that before it was education was not necessarily, well, it wasn't paid by taxpayers, and now it is. Also, it is more like a factory setting, as far as all the students that are in a particular classroom are divided by age and not necessarily by what they know already. It's a production, he mentioned it's a production line mentality. And I thought that was very interesting. I never thought about that before. And and he also brought out the point that younger children, given a task such as finding new ways of using a paperclip, can come up with more than, say, a 13 or 14-year-old who is supposed to be more educated, yet they lack the mentality of a young creative child. Basically, what he was coming up with was that the older you are, because you have more education and you're told that this is the way things are and you're just going to have to deal with it, that the less creative you become. The second one was Mr. Alvin Toffler on the future, and he is a futurist, and he basically said education, everything changes, and we know this for a fact. Nothing stays the same. He mentioned that he knew about computers. Computers were, a long time ago, computers were supposed to simplify decision making, and sometimes it is the opposite. They've actually created more decisions for us. We have to think about different things, and they they do that, but they also complexifies everything else, I guess you could say. Another thing that he mentioned was industrial expansion brought about city growth. So the more that you industrialize your area, the more populated it was going to become, because there was more advancements for people. The third one was changing social contexts of learning. They talked about diversity and technology. Um, People are different and engage differently in learning, and I thought that was a great point. Technology, you're going to have different tools for designing and delivering learning and expanding. Um, you have all sorts of different things. You've got, well, the university, for example. You might have a blackboard textbook. You also could have dry erase boards. Even Blackboard, the app. Globalization is more interconnected. We are more interconnected now than ever before. Um, let's see. Number 4, the profession of education, and we are talking about the wide range of jobs that are available because you get an education, even though sometimes, even though you get an education, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to open any more doors. Um, there are a lot of people that do have a higher education that cannot find jobs. But teaching is one of those jobs that you can go out into the world and you can go overseas and teach, whereas in some areas, that's, in some jobs, that is not necessarily true. The fifth one is contemporary social context of education, where parents are encouraging their children to go out into the world and get more of an education each time. And I do worry on that one. I do worry that we are causing our children to be more anxious about their futures. The sixth one was changing roles for teachers, and talks about the tools of learning, outcomes of learning. Teachers need to be more available now for their students than they ever were before. The seventh one was changing sites of learning. You can go again anywhere and teach, and it's really amazing how the world has shifted in that. And then he did mention something about Wikipedia not being written by experts, and he's right. I mean, anybody can go in online and state something on Wikipedia. And then the eighth one was education as designs for social future. Um, Educators need to think about their roles, and they need to be able to collaborate with one another and find out what everybody's doing.